Yo, what up, what up, what up? Wally here, and I thought we'd just continue where we left off last time, talking about some games that have influenced me and kind of impacted me over my career as a video game bum. Yeah, so the first thing I kind of just wanted to mention, guys, was just that this isn't my list of top 10 games, and it's not my favorite games that I've ever played. It's more just games that have really left their mark on me or kind of changed the way that I view video games or what I like to play. Just like referencing back to the Final Fantasy VIII game that I said, that wasn't my favorite game in the series. It was just the first one that I played, and it was the one that really got me into RPGs in general and made me become the RPG fanatic that I am today. So, anyways, I thought the next game that I would really touch upon, and another game that's been really influential, was The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. And before I talk about that game, I kind of just wanted to mention the whole Zelda series real quick. Last summer, I got to take a programming class, a really basic video game programming class, and part of the class was just looking at a game from like the Nintendo era that was really influential or really changed the gaming industry overall. And I chose the original Zelda. And I think like a lot of people don't realize how influential games were back then, and really how they've totally shaped what we do and what we play now. And one type of game that is extremely popular today is kind of the sandbox game, the sandbox setup game, where the player is kind of free to explore the world, and the story is there, but it's not the driving force of what happens in the game. It's kind of more your curiosity that leads what happens and kind of decides what goes on. And Zelda was really the first game to implement a structure like this, and it was really revolutionary. In the game, you start out with absolutely nothing, and there is no driving force from the story that leads you where to go. And if you don't have kind of, I don't want to say the word curiosity again, but I guess I am. If you don't have the curiosity to go check out the cave that lies right in front of you, you won't even get the first weapon that you receive to fight enemies. You'll be defenseless. So that game really pushed the envelope as far as just kind of forcing players to drive themselves to go and explore the world. And an open world kind of game does a number of things. I mean, it allows the player to obviously play at the pace they want and go where they want, which is, I think, a great idea. Players, in video games, if we have the technology, shouldn't be restricted to just go one place only. But even better than that, I think, is that these kind of games allow players to become completely immersed in the world that surrounds them, because they need to pay attention to the details that are going on, and that's really what helps them to find their way and to really progress through the game, I guess. And it does a number of things. It allows you to really just take in everything that developers have shown and just give you a much greater level of appreciation for what they've done. And I mean, it just brings you into the story all that much more. So anyways, let's get back to the Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This was the first Legend of Zelda game I've ever played, and even to this day, I'd still say that this is my favorite one. I just remember that before this game, there had never been a game that kind of drew me in and immersed me in a game as much as this game. Before playing Legend of Zelda, I think I was a really typically a casual gamer. I was still really young, and the primary games that I had played were like Mario and Donkey Kong and stuff like that. I never really felt a level of connection to the characters, but playing Zelda for the first time, I cared like what was gonna happen to Link, if he was gonna ever save the princess. And I mean, looking back, the story was dumbed down, a lot, but I was still young, and it was something that I just connected to for some reason, and you know, everything just seemed to matter more to me in this game. And I think it was like the first time ever playing a video game that my connection to the game was more like a book, in that I felt more a part of the story than ever than I did in previous video games, and I wasn't just some outside person looking in. I felt like I was almost experiencing the game myself. And I think that's something that really helps you to jump into something. I mean, it's the same as reading a book. Once you feel like you're actually almost experiencing it with the character, it becomes a whole different experience, and you just totally get sucked in. And this was really the first time that this happened to me, and I just remember, playing through that game, no problem, breezing right through it. I mean, I wasn't like breezing through it, but like, I just played it, beginning to end, and just loved every second of it again. Ugh, sorry, loved every second of it, and actually wanted to play it again. And that doesn't happen with me a lot, especially when I was younger. I rarely played games more than once, so that really says a lot about this game and this series. I mean, I still look back, with a real level of fondness and just nostalgia, looking back at Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I mean, I still remember like some of the melodies and tunes that you would play on the Ocarina, which was kind of your like tool of getting around in the whole world. And I still remember like some of the tunes and stuff that you would play. And I think that stuff will stick with me honestly forever. I mean, it's just a great game. And I know this. I said this wasn't my list of like top 10 games or anything, but this is a game and a series of games that I would highly recommend to pretty much anybody who's a fan of either action RPGs or just you know great games. I mean, like I had said with the original Zelda, like I picked that game back up, and it was still something that I could play. Like whereas a lot of games, they're great in their time, and they're amazing for what they did at the time. But when you look at them, a couple of years down the road, they just don't stand up. But for me, the Legend of Zelda series will always be great games. They'll always be games that are worth playing. And pretty much, I think they're, that rare video game that kind of just stands the test of time. That it's not the flavor of the week. It's always going to be good. And so basically anyone who's never played the Zelda series, if you're listening to this, do yourself a favor and type in like Zelda in Google and just find the Flash game version of the original Zelda game and play it. Because I promise you, you'll enjoy it. It was a great game. All right, guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Later.